Good evening and welcome to the March 11th, 2024 legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. In the event of an emergency, please remain calm and exit through the double doors to my left. If those doors are blocked, please exit through the door to my right by pulling the fire alarm located to the right of the door under the monitor. Please let us know if you need any assistance. At this time, I would like to direct everyone's attention to the meeting procedures sheet that is attached to the agendas and included as the first page of the agenda packets. Just want to highlight a few items. That if you wish to speak on more than one agenda item or subject, please list all that apply on the comment forms. If you determine you would like to speak on an additional item after turning in your form, please fill out another form and turn it into the clerk. If you approach the podium more than once during the same meeting, you are not required to state the information such as your name, whether you're a resident of the corporate limits of Salisbury and any organization you are affiliated to. Be sure to print your email address legibly on the form to receive a response to a question you have. And the intention of this council is to hold organized and professional meetings. We would like everyone to have a chance to speak, but it must be done respectfully. Interrupting, outbursts, and non-compliance of these procedures will not be tolerated. Thank you so much for your cooperation. At this time, we ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we'll call for a moment of silence. Thank you. We do ask that you keep your thoughts with Councilwoman Jackson. She is feeling under the weather, and we do hope that she returns with us next week. We'll move on to the presentations portion of this meeting. We'll have our first read by Mayor Randy Taylor for Endometriosis Awareness Month.
Thank you. Whereas the Endometriosis Association is a nonprofit charitable organization that was founded in 1980 with the intent of bringing awareness to the underserved and misunderstood population of women who suffer from endometriosis, which affects an estimated 200 million women worldwide, the equivalent of 1 in every 10 women. And whereas there's no cure for endometriosis, it is thought to be hereditary. Its cause is not known. Thankfully, there are many treatments and management options available which can greatly improve patients' quality of life. And whereas endometriosis can only be diagnosed through laparoscopic surgery and often takes an average of about 10 years to receive a diagnosis, medical professionals frequently are inadequately educated on the diagnosis and treatment of endometriosis. And whereas patients with this illness often must learn to live with widespread pain throughout their bodies, extreme fatigue, infertility, emotional and mental issues, as well as autoimmune disorders. And whereas endometriosis can be present in young women and children as young as 8 years of age, which poses unique challenges for this population who suffer not only from the symptoms of the disease, but both the lack of understanding and the social acceptance of it as well. And whereas people with endometriosis can face severe emotional and mental issues such as depression and anxiety, which is why they cannot get through it alone. And whereas endometriosis is a horrible disease physically, emotionally, and mentally, showing compassion and understanding to each other is the one way to provide hope and to give those suffering from the disease a reason to keep fighting. And whereas the Endometriosis Association introduced Endometriosis Awareness Month in March of 1993 and now observed worldwide through a variety of activities, which include educational opportunities, fundraising, marches, and free distribution of popular yellow ribbons, and brochures. And whereas the Endometriosis Association Local Support Group, Endo Warriors of the Eastern Shore, and other groups around the country have joined together to promote endometriosis awareness and support through improved education, diagnosis, research, and treatment, because better understanding this disease will help guarantee hope for a better future to all who suffer from it. Therefore, I, Randolph J. Taylor, Mayor of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Endometriosis Awareness Month.
And I believe we have Shannon online, if she'd like to make a couple remarks.
That would be appreciated.
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for supporting Endometriosis Awareness Month. The City of Salisbury has supported us for the past 3 years, and I am extremely grateful. The first year, I kind of explained what endometriosis was. The second year, I told my story about infertility and how I had lost a baby. And last year, it was basically based on how endometriosis is a whole body disease. It affects you mentally, emotionally, physically. This year, my main goal is for people to advocate for themselves. Endometriosis is not listed yet as an autoimmune disorder. While it is an autoimmune disorder, they're still working on that. It has many autoimmune disorders that are associated with it, including Crohn's, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, everything like that. I, this year, have been diagnosed with Crohn's, which is why I'm not there tonight. I have had to go to the hospital every month for the past 7 months, and I end up staying there 3 or 4 days for them to get my Crohn's under control. Basically, when the endometriosis flares, it makes my Crohn's flare. One of the times that I went, I had an emergency room doctor walk in, and he sat down in a chair. He didn't ask me if I was okay. He didn't ask me why I was there. He basically just told me endometriosis was not painful and it was not an emergency condition. And I kind of sat there for a minute because I was really taken back by his comments, because I wasn't even there for my endometriosis, but I told him that it was very much an emergency situation and it was extremely painful, and that I hoped he never had a daughter that had it, because I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone. When he walked out of the room, it took me back to being 16 years old when the doctors wouldn't listen to me, when I attempted to commit suicide because of that. And then I got really angry, because then I thought about all of my nieces, which is the whole reason I started this organization. It is unacceptable for a doctor to speak to anyone that way. It's unacceptable for a doctor to look down on you when they don't know about the disease. I would rather you ask questions than just assume that you know what's going on. So it is extremely important for everyone to advocate for themselves. And I am so grateful that the City of Salisbury is backing me and every woman in your community who has endometriosis. It is a family disease, so even the ones that love us and take care of us, you are supporting them, and I can honestly tell you that that means so much to all of us. I get comments and messages all the time about how much they appreciate knowing that they have support from their community. I'm having my 3rd annual Yellow Day this Friday the 15th. And I would greatly appreciate if everyone would wear yellow. You can tag my Facebook group, which is Endo Warriors of the Eastern Shore. And I just want to turn the entire Eastern Shore yellow so that we can show these women and young girls that they are not alone, because there are still girls fighting for diagnoses and doctors don't know what's going on. So we need to keep fighting and we need to keep talking about it. And even though it is uncomfortable to talk about infertility or menstrual cycles or painful intercourse, it's very important that we discuss these issues, because I don't want any of your daughters or nieces or granddaughters to go through what I and so many other women have. So I just want to say thank you so much for your support.
Great, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And originally we had a certificate of recognition slated for the Y High girls basketball team, but since they have since advanced again to the state level, we'll hold off on that, and we await their game on Wednesday for them to hopefully advance again. So we'll just keep piling up their recognitions to not have them continue to come to the council meetings. So at this time, can I have a motion and a second to adopt the legislative agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Good evening. On the consent agenda this evening, we have some meeting minutes for you. We have January the 22nd. January the 22nd. Do you want to speak louder, Chris?
If you could just start over for me, please. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So on the consent agenda this evening, we have some meeting minutes. First is January the 22nd, 2024, closed session meeting minutes. We have February the 12th, 2024, council meeting minutes. February the 20th, 2024, work session minutes. And finally, February the 26th, 2024, council meeting minutes.
Thank you. Could I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 3333, recognizing and remembering racial injustice and apologizing to the families and descendants of the victims of lynchings that occurred in the city?
So moved. Second.
Whereas the city of Salisbury acknowledges and condemns the lynchings of victims, and whereas there are 3 documented lynchings involving black men in the Salisbury, Maryland, and whereas on May 31st, 1898, a white mob numbering over 100 broke into county jail in Salisbury and kidnapped an 18-year-old black male named Garfield King, accused of murdering a white man. Mr. King was taken to the Wycomico Courthouse lawn, hung from a tree, and reportedly his body was shot 50 times. No one was ever officially identified as being part of the mob. And whereas on December the 4th, 1931, a white mob numbering several hundred to upwards of 1,000 individuals kidnapped a 23-year-old black male named Matthew Williams from the Negro ward of the Peninsula General Hospital. Mr. Williams was accused of the murder of his employer, a white man named Daniel Elliott. After being tortured and hung on the Wycomico County Courthouse, his body was dragged through the nearby black neighborhood and then set afire in a vacant lot. Through a grand jury investigation led no one being officially identified as being part of the mob that lynched Mr. Williams, a secret investigation authorized by then-Governor Albert Ritchie was undertaken by an undercover Pinkerton detective named Patsy Johnson. Through the course of this investigation, the names of several prominent white community members were identified as being involved in the conspiracy to lynch Mr. Williams and enforce community silence. Most relevant to the city of Salisbury, the then police chief, Nicholas H. Holland, helped lead the mob from the city to the courthouse, and then the fire chief, Frederick Greer, provided the mob with a rope used to hang Mr. Williams. And whereas in the hours following the racial lynching of Mr. Williams, an unknown middle-aged black male, hereafter referred to as unknown, was found beaten to death, presumably by either members of the same white mob that had lynched Mr. Williams or by a similar one. In 2017, the Equal Justice Initiative acknowledged unknown as a racial lynching victim. And whereas the aforementioned facts were gleaned from the following sources: The Silent Shore, The Lynching of Matthew Williams, and the Politics of Racism in the Free State, Johns Hopkins University Press, Equal Justice Initiative of 2017, Lynching in America, Confronting the Legacy of Racial Terror, Mob Law on Delmarva, and I Feel S. 1994 on the Courthouse Lawn, Revised Edition, Beacon Press. And whereas The mayor and council of the city of Salisbury believes that racial injustice must be acknowledged and remembered before society can heal from wounds of the past and build mutually respectful relations across the ethnic lines. Now, therefore, be it resolved that mayor and council of the city of Salisbury desire to publicly acknowledge the lynchings that occurred in the city and to offer a formal apology to the families and descendants of the victims of the lynchings involving the known descendants of Mr. King, Latanya Christopher, Cynthia Polk, and the known descendants of Mr. Williams, Jeannie Jones. The above resolution was introduced and read and passed at the regular meeting of Council of the City of Salisbury held this day, 11th of March, and is therefore effective immediately upon adoption.
Thank you. All those in favor of resolution number 3333, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 3334, proposing the annexation to the city of Salisbury of a certain area of the land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the city of Salisbury to be known as 2407 North Salisbury Boulevard, J.D. Oliver LLC annexation?
So moved. Second.
Resolution number 3334, a resolution of the Council of the City of Salisbury proposing the annexation to the City of Salisbury of a certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury to be known as 2407 North Salisbury Boulevard, J.D. Oliver LLC annexation, being at the same point from the corner of the existing corporate limits line of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, lying along the east side of the North Salisbury Boulevard, said corner being the northern westernmost corner of the annexation parcel and running thence in a clockwise direction around the perimeter of the affected property to the point of beginning being all that the real property identified as tax map 29 parcel 158 together with additional areas of landowners by others. Number 1, tax map 119 parcel 237 parcel 3 Cross Lake LLC. Number 2, tax map 119 parcel 237 parcel B, Salisbury Mall Realty Holdings LLC, and 3, tax map 119 parcel 237 lot 4, Salisbury Mall Realty Holdings LLC. Whereas the City of Salisbury has received a petition for annexation dated March 8, 2023, attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein, signed by at least 25% of the persons who are resident registered voters and of the persons who are to be annexed binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury to be known as 2407 North Salisbury Boulevard, J.D. Oliver annexation, beginning at the same point from the corner of the existing corporate limits line in the City of Salisbury, Maryland, lying along the east side of the North Salisbury Boulevard, and said corner being the northwesternmost corner of the annexation parcel and running thence in a clockwise direction around the perimeter of the affected property to the point beginning being all that real property identified as tax map 28 parcel 158, less together with additional areas of land owners by others. Number 1, tax map 119 parcel 237 parcel 3 Cross Lake LLC. Number 2, tax map 119 parcel 237 parcel B, Salisbury Mall Realty Holdings LLC, and 3, tax map 119 parcel 237 lot 4 Salisbury Mall Realty Holdings LLC, and further be the same real property, more particularly described in the property description attached hereto as Exhibit 2, and incorporated as if fully set forth herein. And whereas the City of Salisbury has caused to be made a certification of the signatures on the said petition with annexation, and the City of Salisbury has verified that the persons signing the petition represent at least 25% of the persons who are eligible voters and property owners owning 25% of the assessed valuation of real property in the area to be annexed, all as of February 28, 2024, as set forth in the certification by Leslie Sherrill, surveyor of the City of Salisbury, attached hereto as Exhibit 3 and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein. And whereas it appears that the aforementioned petition for annexation dated March 8, 2023 meets all the requirements of applicable state and local law, and whereas pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government 4-406, a public hearing on this resolution provided for the City of Salisbury annexation of the property as set forth herein shall be and hereby is scheduled for April 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the City of Salisbury as follows. Section 1, it is proposed and recommended that the municipal boundaries of the City of Salisbury be changed so that as to annex to and include within the said municipal boundaries of the City of Salisbury all the certain real property more particularly described in Exhibit 2, attached here to and incorporated by reference as fully set forth herein. Section 2, the annexation of the property be and hereby is approved by the council in the City of Salisbury, subject to all terms, conditions, and agreements contained in the aforementioned property description. The proposed annexation agreement and the annexation plan attached as Exhibits 2, 4, and 5 respectively, each of which is attached hereto and incorporated herein as if all such terms, conditions, and agreements contained in such exhibits are specifically set forth at length in this resolution. Section 3, the zoning map of the City of Salisbury shall be amended to include the property within the certain zoning districts of the City of Salisbury identified as general commercial, which said real property newly annexed into the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury, as contemplated by this resolution, is presently Zone C-2 General Commercial in accordance with the existing zoning laws of Wycomico County, Maryland. Section 4, pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government 4-406, the Council of the City of Salisbury shall hold a public hearing on the resolution on April 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at the City Salisbury headquarters located at 115 South Division Street, and the city administrator shall cause a public notice of time and place of the said public hearing to be published not fewer than 2 times at not less than weekly intervals in at least one newspaper of general circulation in the City of Salisbury, which said public notice shall specify a time and a place at which the Council of the City of Salisbury will hold the aforesaid public hearing, the date of which should be no sooner than 15 days after the final required date of publication as specified here above. And then sections 5 through 8 are boilerplate. That's it.
Thank you. All those in favor of resolution number 3334, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 3335, proposing the annexation of plan of a certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury to be known as 2407 North Salisbury Boulevard - J.D. Oliver LLC annexation.
Sharon, did you say so moved? Pardon me? Did you say so moved?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I'll say it, so moved.
Sorry.
I thought you did, I'm sorry.
I was coughing, sorry.
Okay.
Did we get a second? I think we did. Okay.
Michelle,
Yep.
second. Yeah, thank
All
you.
right, resolution number 3335, a resolution of the Council of the City of Salisbury proposing the annexation to the City of Salisbury of a certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury to be known as 2407 North Salisbury Boulevard, J.D. Oliver LLC annexation, beginning at the same point from a corner of the existing corporate limits line of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, lying along the east side of the North Salisbury Boulevard, said corner being the northwesternmost corner of the annexation parcel, and running thence in a clockwise direction around the perimeter of the affected property to the point of beginning being all that real property identified as tax map 29, parcel 158, tax map 119, parcel 237, tax map 119, parcel 237, parcel B, and number 3, tax map 119, parcel 237, lot 4. Whereas pursuant to the certain petition for annexation dated March 8th, 2023, attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein, the City of Salisbury proposes the annexation to the City of Salisbury of a certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury to be known as 2407 North Salisbury Boulevard, J.D. Oliver LLC annexation, beginning at the same point from a corner of the existing corporate limits line of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, lying along the east side of the North Salisbury Boulevard, said corner being the northwesternmost corner of the annexation parcel, and running thence in a clockwise direction around the perimeter of the affected property to the point of beginning being all that real property identified as tax map 29, parcel 158, together with additional areas of land owned by others, number 1, tax map 119, parcel 237, number 2, tax map 119, parcel 237B, in tax map 119 parcel 237 lot 4, and further being the same real property more particularly described in the property description attached hereto as Exhibit 2, and whereas pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government 4-415, the City of Salisbury is required to adopt an annexation plan for the proposed annexation of the property, and whereas pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government 4-406, a public hearing on this resolution providing for the Council of the City of Salisbury's approval of the annexation plan for the City of Salisbury annexation of the property as set forth herein shall be and hereby scheduled for April 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the City of Salisbury as follows. Section 1, the annexation plan for the North Salisbury Boulevard annexation to the City of Salisbury attached hereto as Exhibit 3 and incorporated as if fully set forth herein, the annexation plan, being hereby is adopted for the City of Salisbury annexation of the property as contemplated by this resolution. Section 2, pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government 4-406, the Council of the City of Salisbury shall hold a public hearing on this resolution on April 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at the Salisbury headquarters located at 115 South Division Street, and the city administrator shall cause a public notice of time and place for the said public hearing to be published not fewer than 2 times at not less than weekly intervals in at least one newspaper of general circulation in the City of Salisbury, which said public notice shall specify a time and place at which the Council of the City of Salisbury will hold aforesaid public hearing, the date of which shall be no sooner than 15 days after the final required date of publication, as specified here above. Sections 3 through 6 are boilerplate. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of resolution number 3335, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you, Mr. Goodsborough. I'd like to invite City Attorney Ashley Boucher. Good evening, Ms. Boucher. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2858 for second reading?
So moved. I'll second.
Okay.
Ordinance number 2858, this is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the FY 2024 general fund budget to appropriate funds for the Salisbury Zoo. As you mentioned, this is before you for second reading. There have been no changes or amendments since first reading.
Thank you. All those in favor of ordinance number 2858 for second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Simple tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Boucher. All right, we have now entered the public comments portion of the meeting. Again, each person will be given 4 minutes, and I will call them in order of receipt. Please remember to state your name. If you are a Salisbury resident, please state your address and or your affiliation, your organization that you are affiliated with. And please excuse me, Bill Zalkowski? Zalkowski. Yes, if you don't mind.
Okay. I just want to bring to the city's attention.
If you just state your name and your residence.
My name is Bill Zalkowski. I live at 227 Glen Avenue. And I'm here to speak about street improvements. The city of Salisbury has added a sidewalk that protrudes into Glen Avenue that is a public hazard. Just recently, my vehicle is parked in front of my home, and it was totaled by a driver on Glen Avenue. I'm not here to litigate a traffic accident or anything like that. I just wanted to point out that there is a sidewalk that was just recently added that is a hazard. It causes people to swerve in that area, and there are a lot of children that utilize Glen Avenue. They walk up and down to go to the high schools, to the schools. There's a lot of little children that ride their bicycles on that road. There's a lot of children there going back and forth all the time. There are neighbors and people walking in that area constantly. Is a well-traveled pedestrian route, and this is a hazard. It is a public hazard. And I think it's something that the city should look into addressing.
Thank you so much for your comment.
Did you say 226? 226? 27.
Mike Goldberg?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mike Goldberg. I reside at 8547 Shadow Lane in Delmar, Maryland. I'm here in the capacity of the Public Information Officer for the Shadow Hills Homeowners Association. As many of you may be aware, the Wicomico County has entered into a contract. In fact, it's a de facto public-private partnership with Livewire LLC to stage off-road events at the Connolly Mills Sand Quarry. This is of great concern to us on many different levels. First of all, it is an umbrella contract. There is no limitation as to the number or types of off-road events that can be held. The first event is scheduled to take place on May 4th and 5th. Furthermore, there is no sunset date on the contract. This could go on, pretty much forever, provided that there's mutual agreement. The Connolly Mills Sand Quarry is situated within the corporate limits of the city of Salisbury, although the owner of record is Wicomico County. Therefore, we feel confident that the city of Salisbury's zoning ordinance applies in this case. What are the problems with the contract? Well, first of all, they're very disadvantageous to the county. It is a poorly drafted contract. It leaves Wicomico County open to a multitude of both civil and financial liabilities. Clearly, the county executive failed to do the appropriate due diligence before entering into this contract unilaterally. Be aware that it was a unilateral execution of the contract. Neither the residents of Shadow Hills were informed, nor was the county council informed. So, it's making everybody a little bit upset, needless to say. Our concerns for our community is that if we have recurring events of this nature, which produce high volumes of noise throughout the weekend, that this will have a direct impact on our real estate values. There's going to be traffic impediments, particularly considering that the Delmarva Central Railroad crossing and right-of-way is right there. They've submitted a very poor maintenance of traffic plan that ultimately will result in traffic circulating right through our neighborhood so they can turn around on the cul-de-sacs as they stage to enter the site. There's going to be up to 200 vehicles at any given time. The plan has not been approved by the Wicomico County Sheriff or the town of Delmar, where they will have after events. Now, the quarry is, again, within the corporate limits. It is zoned R8A. This is not a permissible use under the zoning code. We therefore ask the city of Salisbury to prohibit these events insofar as they are a direct violation of the zoning code. And we would further ask that the zoning code be applied equally. Otherwise, at some point in the future, a precedent will have been established which could prove detrimental to the interests of the city of Salisbury. I would also add that there is an abundance of wildlife on this property. Bald eagles are nesting there. I've witnessed them myself. Foxes, deer. I've seen coyotes, wild turkeys. There's also going to be environmental impacts. They have cleared land to create new trails. They have filled a reservoir, a 22-acre reservoir. There is no security around the site. There are inherent risks that already existed. And we discovered just recently that they actually built a berm with a moat underneath of it. They excavated, filled it with water, and I can just see a 10-year-old boy playing on top of that sand hill and falling face down into that moat, resulting in personal injury or worse. There's a number of potential compliance issues with the Maryland Department of the Environment's erosion and sediment control statutes, which they are codes, I should say, which are presently under investigation. There's also a potential that there are some violations of their mining permit, and I believe there are also some potential violations of regulations promulgated by the Federal Mining Safety and Health Administration. They have also been advised. So we ask that you do everything reasonably possible to block this. We don't deserve to be encumbered with the noise, the traffic, and the devaluation of our properties. And if anyone has any questions, I am glad to address them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Lisa Gingrich.
Hi, Lisa Gingrich, 316 North Division Street. I also have a comment on both of the closed sessions. Is it okay to talk to them at the same time? The first one is Ann Street Village. Excuse me. This was new that this was going to be something that's coming up, and I see that there's an update on next month's agenda. But I just want to comment, since in here it says contents of a possible proposal, as well as negotiating strategies. I just want to comment that this was a much ballyhooed piece of wonderfulness for the city and for homelessness and all that kind of thing. And I think that the update, I hope, covers why this is even happening. And then the other thing is that this sounds like you're going to block out public discussion of what might be happening to this. This thing, you know, and I would suggest that you don't, that you say, okay, this has come up, this is the current status, this is why we think something needs to be done with it, can we please get input? And then the other thing is talking about the Salisbury Town Center. My concern is that in the notes that I took at the work session, Attorney Patel made a comment that has me concerned, that I believe she was representing the city, and in talking about what the developer is going to be allowed to do and not do, she made the comment, not allow us to build. And who did she mean by us? Because as far as I know, the city's not in the business of developing. And who was she speaking on behalf of at that point? So it might seem like a small thing, but it really had several of us confused as to who she meant when she said us. So that's my comments. And now my iPad's stuck.
Thank you. Nick Simpson.
Nick Simpson, here as developer of the Ross and Lot 10. I wanted to start by saying I had a great meeting, productive meeting with the mayor last week regarding Lot 10, and we're excited to see another transformational project in downtown breaking ground in hopefully the near future. And in that vein, we appreciate seeing the sub-recipient agreement that is on the agenda for our next meeting and look forward to future discussions as those continue. As many of you know, there's positives to developments that are sometimes overlooked when there's so much negativity. The jobs that are created with the construction, the jobs that are permanent after the structures are in place, redefining and creating neighborhoods and places that we spend our time, expanding our tax base. Some of these parking lots that have been sold off are now paying full freight taxes for the value of the land that's there today, and in a tight year that matters. And then of course, unexpected revenues, like with the Ross building, a chronically underutilized parking garage that for decades has never been full, in year one is now already generating to the city over $4,500 a month, and will go up to over $120,000 next year, starting in August. Those are the unrealized and untalked about types of impacts and real dollars that are spent here in the city, and we're trying to encourage that. So I hope that as we come close to the horizon deadline and as discussions continue to, I'm sure, heat up, I'd like to remind folks that the enterprise zone pays a good portion of the benefit of the Horizon tax credit back to the city from the state for all of the commercial value of the land. So that should be deducted from the amount of reimbursement that the city is actually taking a hit on. And it also matters in attracting and bringing folks to the city who are being asked to invest over $10 million. And those folks can take that money and invest anywhere across the country and take it to any type of investment or any city that is trying to welcome them. So I certainly hope that we continue to be a development friendly city and continue to see progress that's transparent and well discussed between all of the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn Woolgamuth.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Woolgamuth. As a city resident and city taxpayer, I want to formally object to tonight's agenda item, closed session number 2, regarding the Salisbury Town Center litigation. Ms. Reena Patel, who represented the Salisbury Board of Appeals at the March 4th Circuit Court appeal hearing on the Salisbury Town Center apartments, had absolutely nothing to say at the hearing. Zero, zip, zilch, nada. Why then do you need to consult with her now? Unless you think I've forgotten, council met with her last week in another closed session regarding the Salisbury Town Center apartments, to which I and others objected. As a city taxpayer, I too want to know, quote, what, if any, legal action the city should take on the Salisbury Town Center litigation, unquote. This should be an open discussion. And by the way, this same city attorney, Ms. Patel, is not doing this gratis. She's charging the city a hefty hourly fee for this quote unquote advice. How much is this costing us? The FY25 budget is fast approaching. Do we want to spend money to fix our infrastructure for police and fire services, our roads, our streets, our traffic lights, and to buy new trash vehicles and equipment? Or do we want to spend money on Ms. Patel's legal fees to essentially join a developer's battle to get his way? Closed sessions have become the norm rather than the exception here. Closed sessions by design are the opposite of transparent. The discussion of matters regarding the Salisbury Town Center behind closed doors is what initially got the city into this mess. And here again, Ms. Patel gave her legal advice at the June 20th closed session when dozens of concerned citizens came to hear the facts and were excluded from the meeting. That closed meeting with Ms. Patel resulted in its designation as an illegal closed meeting by Maryland's Open Meetings Compliance Board, the minutes of which have yet to be released, as you well know. The council has repeatedly met in closed sessions on this very same topic. It's high time for meetings behind closed doors to end. The facts and the truth need to finally see the light of day. Hold the discussion regarding any possible Salisbury Town Center litigation in an open session. Our taxes are paying for this legal advice, so let us hear it. Thank you.
Please state your name, your address, or your organization for the record. Could you state your name and your organization, the address or the organization, please?
I am not speaking on behalf of anyone but myself as a city
Could you just state your
taxpayer.
address, please, Ms. Carolyn?
Pardon me?
Could you just state your address for the record, please?
That's not required in your rules.
all right. Nancy Roysum. Nancy Roysum.
My name is Nancy Is that good? Roysum. I live at 209 Beaver Dam Drive, Salisbury, Maryland. And I'm speaking about town center apartments and density. If the apartments project proceeds as currently proposed, the following issues must be addressed in order to assure your constituents are not adversely affected. During and post-construction, how will the project affect traffic flow during weekday rush hours, when the 2 drawbridges are up, and during shift changes at major downtown employers? There will be negative impacts on the existing businesses and residents located on adjoining properties such as the Market Street Inn, Opportunity Shop, Salisbury University, Eastern Shore Culture Museum, County Library, Health Department, banks, attorneys' offices, plaza retailers, and rental apartments. In the request letter from Parker & Associates, the developer asked to waive the Community Impact Statement, CIS. On July 20th, 2023, Planning and Zoning Commission approved the preliminary design and waived the CIS. And so, an analysis of during and post-construction impacts on utility grid, landfill capacity, flooding, shopping, etc. was not done and is directly related to density. Lacking this CIS study caused this project to fail to catch many important community issues at the preliminary phase. Increasing the density of this project exacerbates the effects of this omission. A detailed report of the current and future effects on citizens and businesses both in and out of the city was not done, except to produce forward-looking statements only accentuating the positives to promote this project. Information needed to produce an informed, reality-based decision was lacking. The Planning and Zoning Commission also approved the project without adhering to the city's current parking and loading standards. This is because during its hearing on July 20th, Michael Sullivan, representative of the developer, told the commission that they did not have the authority, which was wrong, misleading, and should be rectified. Therefore, no areas are set aside for off-street parking and loading. Can you cut my timing? Which puts to question, for the 300-plus new apartment dwellers, where will deliveries and pickups drive up and park for the UPS, FedEx, Walmart, Food Lion, pizzas? How and where will apartment dwellers services like carpet steam cleaners, mowing and landscape crews with trailers, and cleaning people park for extended periods of time? And for the other property owners on the plaza and West Market Street, where and how will their service trucks and tour buses maneuver and park? Areas for these purposes could be available if the density were reduced to allow it. 13 people spoke against the apartment's planned density at the November 2nd, 2023 hearing. 5 hours of testimony were presented, and so the Board of Appeals that night denied the developer's request for added density. The Circuit Court judge on March 4th upheld their decision. Dear City Council, please consider these facts when you make your next decisions about downtown residential density. Consider the cost to the operation of the county seat, its businesses, employees, and visitors. Most of the above statements were from sworn testimony, and I have a copy of my statement tonight and a copy of some calculations on how much fill is going to take.
Thank you, Ms. Royston.
to fill the,
Thank you, Ms. Royston. Bruce Robson.
to raise the grade 2.5 feet.
I have 4 minutes, man.
You were just granting me another 4?
No.
Yeah, Bruce Robson, 5286 Joy Row Lane, that's in the county, not in the city. And I'm just representing myself and a ad hoc group of people who since January 1st have been picking up trash. Just got
more and more upset about litter and, you know, what it does in terms of what things look like in our county, our home, et cetera. And we've been doing this literally, somebody's doing it every week since January 1st. And it's always nice to see the results. Sometimes they don't last very long, but it's nice to see the results. And we would really like to see a sustained effort on the part of the county, the city, and residents and businesses. And I've put together a fairly detailed outline, although I would ask you not to draw too much attention to misspelling, et cetera, as I sat there and looked through it. But we understand that this is a huge challenge, a huge ongoing challenge, and believe that long-term solutions involve collaboration, multifaceted approach, et cetera, et cetera. Picking it up is one thing, but keeping it from having to do that every week is another. You know, I'll hand this out to you. My intent tonight is really just a heightening of awareness that we're doing this, that we're serious, that we're not going to stop, and really want to get the city on board. I want to thank Mayor Taylor and President Dowdy about their encouragement with me showing up here tonight, and other help that I've already gotten from Mayor Taylor. And have talked to the county quite a bit, been to several of their meetings. I've talked to some other folks who I think are going to be a great resource in terms of making this effective. Again, it's going to take a long time. Our only ask at this point are regarding the city are what would be great from a PR and safety point of view is when we're out there on city streets to have signs that say, join us, pick up litter, clean Wycomico, something, you know, bright and catching, so when people drive by, again, we start to raise awareness on this ongoing effort. Also, I would really like it if we made this a budget item in both the city and the county, and so we have a true commitment there. Thank you for your time, and I'll just leave these.
Thank you, sir.
Randy looks like you could give a good passer out.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Bruce. Mayor Hubner.
This is really detailed.
Good evening, I'm Mary Hubner. I live at 1006 Heron Court. I'm here to say that I want to oppose the City Council going into another closed meeting regarding the Salisbury Town Center litigation. I'm a city taxpayer, and since this issue involves litigation that I and all city taxpayers may or will be paying for, we have a right to know what's going on in an open meeting. We voted you in to give us transparency, and now we're being locked out. Thank you. Oh, and could you guys, please, the line on Carroll Street, the solid line that comes down to Division Street, it's such a wide area, it doesn't make any sense. Everybody's crossing that solid line to turn right. If you can erase it, that would be great. Thank you.
We do have a discussion next week for Carroll Street, so I'll make sure to mention that. Robert Taylor.
Robert Taylor, Salisbury resident since 1971. No, I wasn't born there. That happened 30 years earlier, but I did move here then. So much manure, so little time tonight. Let's start with the Ross. I heard the interesting comment that most of the cities waived property tax revenue was going to come back under the enterprise zone deal with the state, which I'm somewhat familiar with. And my understanding is that residential property does not qualify for that, only retail. I did some quick math I see he's shaking his head, so I guess he agrees with me. I did some quick math on the lost revenue, which comes out to about $275,000 this year. This is property tax revenue now for the Ross under the Horizon program. Now, yes, there may be some retail space there that qualifies for it, and that may change the numbers some. But looking at the online documents, I think they're paying in property tax something like $7,000 this year, because they do get some other kind of a cut, which I forget what it is. 19,000, and I think 12 is knocked off, leaves 7. My guess is that Brad Gillis's house in Tony Tank probably pays more tax than that. But I don't know, I haven't looked it up. I mean, of course, he doesn't pay it to the city because he's not in the city. But if he were in the city, he would probably pay more tax than they're paying on the Ross this year, property tax. I didn't really come to address that. I know I've just got a little bit of time. But there were some other things tonight. The gentleman whose truck was totaled, I live very close to there. I've stopped using that street since they put that in. I have another way I can get around just using North Park Drive. So, I mean, it's, yeah, now, I think, and Ms. Boschel can correct me, I believe that under the governmental immunity law in Maryland, that negligent street design is exempt from that. So theoretically, I think if something would happen, because, I mean, I don't see how you can look at that other than negligent street design. But that's something you might want to consider, because I think there's an exemption from governmental immunity for negligent street design in Maryland. There are only a couple things, and that's one. So anyway, I mean, these things have just come up. What I really came tonight to address, and I guess probably when you have your clubhouse meeting with Ms. Patel in closed session, there's going to be some discussion further. She brought it up in open comment last week. How can we get the developer to be able to do the Salisbury Town Center now that there's a real problem in court? And I think that the next plan, and I've represented developers, so I have a little insight, is going to be, well, let's just change the zoning code. Let's up the 40 units per acre to 80. Let's double it. Then they'd be fine. Now, let's look at this seriously, folks. If anything, the 40 units per acre should be lowered because, number one, you've done away with you've sold all your parking lots. Number two, we got the Ross. They're taking a third maybe of the excess, well, not excess, but total capacity of the parking garage, if as and when that gets filled up. We know that's not now, but it will certainly happen sooner or later. And, you know, what's going to happen when you add, if Salisbury Town Center goes through, 200 and some units, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, probably total of somewhere over 300 bedrooms, if you take the 3 bedrooms and throw it all in. And where's the parking going to be? Because you're destroying lot 15, you're destroying lot 11, and with the rinky-dink park you're building here, you're essentially destroying almost all of lot 1. Plus, you're generating, if they go through with it.
Time, Mr. Taylor, thank you.
Okay, and plus on that, they want the city to build the parking for their tenants. I mean, this is absurd.
Thank you so much. Casey Taylor.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Casey Taylor, 29550 Stillwood Drive in Delmar, Maryland. I'm a resident of Wacomico County. I'm just here to piggyback from Mr. Goldberg's speaking earlier. I have been a resident in Shadow Hills for over 18 years now. And when we first moved in there, and still, we could hear ATVs, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, shooting at all hours of the night. So on a summer night when we had our windows open, this is all we would hear. We have called the police departments, and that whenever we call, it's always, oh, that's city limits. No, that's Wacomico County. And it takes 5 minutes to decide whose jurisdiction this resides in. Now that we do know that it's in the city limits, so now we believe it's under the City of Salisbury Police, but I think Wacomico County does have an agreement with the City of Police that because it's owned by Wacomico County, that the Sheriff's Office is now patrolling that area. So the trespassing has been an issue, and with these events going to be happening, if they do happen, we pray that they don't, we're afraid that it's going to be opening up another can of worms. We have seen many posts on Facebook regarding, oh, this is going to be open all the time. Oh, it's open to four-wheelers. Oh, it's open to motorcycles and dirt bikes. We know there's an issue with dirt bikes riding down Route 13 right now. Are they going to then start coming back to this area is our fear. We just do not want to open that can of worms, and we hope you really take that into consideration as well. Thank you.
John Wogelmuth.
John Wogmuth, city resident and taxpayer. I first want to address the dumpster fire label that the last commentator at last Monday's meeting wrongfully attached to completed and planned Salisbury projects that do not meet density allowances. That was a false claim. It was wrong and it was misleading. The high majority of projects done in the city, completed or planned, meet their density requirements. The dumpster fire label can be applied to the currently proposed Salisbury Town Center apartment project that exceeds almost double the overly generous maximum density that might be considered. The maximum density of 40 units per acre or less, 40 units per acre is double what exists elsewhere in the city, would be considered only after an extensive range of factors to mitigate the detrimental effects of high density is done. As we all know, actions to mitigate these effects of high density for the town center was not done. It was not done by the wannabe developer as required per proper planning and regulatory procedures. Hence, the gross lack of not following regulatory procedures, lack of action to mitigate detrimental effects to the city, obscuring basic facts that we get all the time, example that we just heard, is typical of what's being done to divert attention away from development, such as the town center project with its flaws and potential harm to the city, as I and others have previously elaborated last week, the week before, etc., in voice and electronic means. If the Salisbury Town Center project continued as is, we would be facing extremely unaffordable costs to the city. We taxpayers would have to pay that bill. That would be a higher tax rate for sure, with absolutely no benefits back to the city. We've all heard the Horizon program does not pay for itself. We heard that over and over and over again. Do the math, it does not. We don't get affordable housing from this project. There is no affordable apartments in that complex. So these fallacies need to be stopped and examined as unjustifiable giveaways to developers that rob the city finances with no financial return, and for that matter, no benefit back to the city of any kind. We don't get any housing that we need. We don't get any kind of entertainment that could go downtown. I repeat, no benefit of any kind to the city, just unjustified giveaways that only benefit a would-be developer. So the bottom line is huge unaffordable costs that harm the city with no return back to the city would be the literal and figurative dumpster fires that would come if the Salisbury Town Center project, as currently proposed, continues and has wrongly been professed as better than sliced bread, which we know it's not.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comments, we'll move forward to our administration and council comments. We'll start with administration.
Good to see everybody. I can only bite my tongue for so long when people say things. I'm the one doing the math. I've been doing the math since we started the Horizon program. We are on the eve of budget discussions, and just a couple things just to clear the record straight. The Ross project in the next 20 years will yield $1.8 million in new revenue for the city of Salisbury, money that would not have ever happened had the Horizon Incentive Program not happened. So we can talk all we want about that. A 5% tax increase is about $1.3 million. So that project alone just saved a 5% property tax increase. Lot 10, same scale, $30 million plus million project. If it was to happen, another $1.8 million. Every development that is part of the Horizon program starts at $10 million. That is a $600,000 minimum increase to our tax base. It's not coming out of any one of your pockets. It is new money. As we talk about sanitation trucks, as we talk about public infrastructure we need, it's either coming from the people in this room, the city taxpayers, or it's coming from new money. When we expand our tax base, when we bring new money to the table, we can do more. Let's not lose sight of that as we talk about incentivizing development and bringing new money to our local economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Taylor?
Yeah, a couple of shout outs I wanted to for Mike Dryden this week and Brandon King, who repaired the pothole at College Avenue. Yes. That was that wasn't just an average coal patch. That was a nice job. He did a very nice job with that. Also want to shout out for Mike. He was big help on working with the railroad with regard to getting the 2 culverts cleaned out below the trellis over on Emerson Avenue. And hopefully that's going to resolve itself in the next couple days, meaning we'll have them cleaned out, and that going forward, they'll be cleaned out. So when we have another rise in the tide or rain, not tide, but raise in the water level, we'll get the flow we need to get across Emerson Avenue. And I also want to thank Jerry Benton, who's been a big help on that project as well. And he's just a volunteer, ex-Marine, and a great guy. He has cleaned out 154 tires from the waterway and 195 bags of trash by himself. So he's a great guy, and I've gotten to know him since they became mayor, and he's been a big help. So that was the last thing. May I ask one question? When was that 227, when was that sidewalk put in?
It was past summer.
Okay. All right, thanks. I wanted to catch you before I left.
Councilwoman Gregory, you want to get us started?
Just as a neighbor, I have spoken with the transportation department about that particular sidewalk. And my understanding is the way it was explained, is anytime a property is redeveloped, it's required by law for us to put a new sidewalk in. So that's why, as those houses get either turned over to new ownership, but there is a discussion to be had about possibly seeing if the neighbors would agree to putting more sidewalks in. I'm not sure if that's a possibility. I would love to see it. I'd love to see more accessibility. It's very difficult. The curb right off one door down from my house doesn't even have an ADA ramp in it, yet we redid ADA ramps on the other end of the street. So I get it.
I think they could have just put it into a sidewalk fund, from what I understand. That was another option that they had when they were doing that. So
Yeah.
it wasn't really required that they do it. It was an option for them to do it.
Right.
It was just poorly designed.
Yeah. So that's something I'm going to bring up to again. I had this discussion with the transportation department just a few months ago. So, and to the topic of cleaning up around the city, I was able to returned to the Sustainability Committee. They just had their meeting, the March meeting. They're getting ready for the April 3rd Friday, which is the theme of it is Sustainable Spring. There's going to be a lot of information on sustainability, different projects and things like that for folks to participate in, activities for kids, all of those sorts of things. So I really hope to see you guys out there. If you're interested in environmental causes or cleaning up the city, they are currently organizing with other city committees, trying to cross-pollinate as much as possible because everything kind of overlaps. For instance, a while back, they were able to organize with the Disability Advisory Committee on getting wheelchair accessible, reusable bags to folks who need them. In fact, they still have some on hand. So if you or someone you love or know is a wheelchair user, please reach out and they would be able to provide you with a bag that would help them shop sustainably while they're out and about. And to the tune of cleanups, they are going to be doing one cleanup a month now that the weather is getting better. If I can get my screen back up. The next one is actually this Saturday. The meetup point is Truett Community Center, and I'd love to see you out there. They will be every month on the third Saturday in different locations around the city. They're trying to hit every district as they go around the city. So they're going to be in different locations, and this one is going to be at Truett Community Center in Council President's District.
Yes, I did get that email. I think they're starting at 9 or 9:30.
Yeah.
So I told them I added it to my calendar.
Yes.
We'll see. I can be at 3 places at one time, so we'll see how that works.
I'll join you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman DeShiel.
Okay. Never mind here. First of all, a delayed thank you to Casey and HR. I failed to mention a thank you for the trolley tour she set up for us. Next, I had the pleasure, absolute delightful pleasure of attending the dinner that the students that are involved with FoodWorks, and they served dinner to over 100 people in the neighborhood on Newton Street in the community center last week, and it was awesome. It's a culminating event for these students that have been given an opportunity to just feed their desire to be chefs, and they graduate with this, and it was just wonderful. Today was awesome. I had a tour of the Aircraft Maintenance Tech School that is being housed at our Salisbury Airport. The county has purchased 3 planes to work on, and then a smaller plane as well. It's an absolutely unbelievable collaboration between the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Wicomico County, and Piedmont. So this is a benefit. They're hoping, keep your fingers crossed, to have 25 students start in the fall. And if you want to see it, it is awesome. And the other thing that they're doing with the Airport Commission is they are in discussion with another low-cost carrier coming on board that would be available to fly to Florida. Yay. And they have come up with a strategic plan for the airport. Everybody's got a plan, so they're not excluded from that. And lastly, Chief Frampton, over here, the fire department has provided 3 meals for Hands and Hearts Ending Homelessness. When I say 3 meals, that translates to 6. Because they really serve an army when they bring food to the shelter. So I want to thank them. We've had 3 and we have 2 more, so please. Thank you, Chief Frampton. You put out that challenge, which I appreciate, being on the board of HHEH and seeing these men, and the appreciation is unparalleled by anything else you'll ever be involved with. And I also want to thank the City Council who provided a dinner last week as well. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman DeShiel. Councilwoman Blake.
Oh, good evening, good evening, good evening. There's so many good things to say. I hope that everyone can hear me. I'm trying to be by the volume rules. First and foremost, I just want to remind everybody about the open gym at the Truett Street. It's every Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. That's you?
It sure
That's
is,
you?
yes.
That's you,
Yes.
that's you.
Yeah.
So that's very important. And I know there's a flag football
Yeah.
thing coming. I tried to look at the dates of that. Isn't that soon or next weekend?
It's coming up, I think it's.
Yes, it is coming up.
And I think, oh, wait,
I just had it.
it's for both, and this, if April was here, she'd be bragging about
Yes.
this. It's at Billie Jean
Yes.
Park.
Yes.
And March 18th and 22nd. And please go out and spread the word about the flag football activities that are coming. So I think that the city is picking up on trying to implement more activities for our youth, which was nice to see. And then I was very impressed with hearing feedback about the open table and the community dinner project at the Newton Street. So
And that was a program brought up by PACE, the flag football. That was a PACE program that the kids actually implemented, and they worked in with the NFL to get the grants and get that started. So extremely proud of them.
Very nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Okay, so I did want to bring up a couple different things. I am looking forward to our administration to address the issues that we have here with the Shadow Hill subdivision homeowners association project. I've read this letter here, this initial letter, and I would like to say we can get this on one of our work sessions for a follow-up discussion. I'm very curious to how the county can do this level of adjusting with the city's property, what we own, and how that occurred, and also look into this alleged contract about some type of entertainment, which it is kind of a vague MOU. It looks like entertainment can be very broadly defined, and I don't even want to imagine how much entertainment that would be or what that exactly would mean, but I really don't want to imagine that. The other couple things are, I would like to make it known, because it was such a big issue here tonight in a public comment. On August the 23rd, 2021, there was a resolution passed. It was 3119 in regards to Ms. Patel being special counsel. It's not any additional money to the city. Additional counsel is usually and typically with all municipalities, so anything that Ms. Boucher would be working on is obviously billable, but if she's not working on the special projects that we need to have her work on, and then Ms. Patel works on them, it would be the same bill. So it's not like we're accumulating additional money for having Ms. Patel. That resolution also clarifies that Ms. Patel works on behalf of mayor and the majority of the council, and we were unaware that Ms. Patel was sent to the hearing, and unbeknownst to people who may not have understood or known, she was apparently instructed not to say anything. The council has now realized this, and we will be filing a motion for reconsideration in regards to the current issues that are going on with Judge Jackson, I believe it's Jackson, and we are also, the city council is also looking very diligently at our zoning codes. So these things will be coming forth, and I'm looking forward to the team to resolve this and keep our development moving forward, and keeping what's good for Salisbury forward. And my favorite last announcement, which I have fan favorites in the back there who love this announcement the most, is if you are healthy enough, please consider donating blood. Also, I did not realize this, but you could, recently the MVA started where you can update or renew your license in the mail or online, and in the mail they actually sent you have the Power to Donate Life pamphlet, and it's very, very informative and informational, and you can actually get it on their website, donatelifemaryland.org, just FYI. And that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. yes, we'll look into getting that item on one of our April agendas. We'll give administration time to get prepared for that. And thank you all for bringing that to our attention. I want to, again, it's Women's History Month, and I have 4 women who work their hardest and keep me straight, and they, majority of them worked to organize this past, I believe it was Thursday. They organized for council to provide a dinner at the Hands and Hearts, a homeless shelter. So together we provided dinner. I did not cook because, again, I want those residents I want those persons to still be with us.
But you served.
But yes, we picked up, and Councilwoman DeSheila and I we proudly served. And it was nice to one, again, they were very appreciative, but again to interact with those individuals who were, one, very appreciative, but to also for us to lend time and energy out of our day. So again, we realize that is an issue in our neighborhoods, and again, while we can't solve it tomorrow, we're working to definitely mitigate those things in our community. So I'm looking forward to that being something in our past. So thank you again, Councilwoman DeShield and my other councilwomen. I had the pleasure these past couple weeks to visit a lot of our elementary schools in the area. While, again, that's not under our purview, but I believe strongly in enriching and being a part of our elementary, middle, and high school students. Again, they're our future leaders, so I was able to go to the Pemberton Read Across America Day, which I think Mayor Taylor joined as well. Yeah, he was there. Hopefully they gave you a hard book to read, a pretty fun one.
my reading level.
Dr. Seuss.
Yes. I went to the Leaders Gallery at Glen Avenue, and then I read for Black History Month at West Side Primary, whichever the one is, down off of Nanticoke. So love being a part of that, love when they invite us as council persons, and they want to learn more. So keep bringing the events to us. We'll make time in our busy schedule, and I appreciate my council and our administration for being community leaders and community persons. So thank you all so much. And with that, this meeting is now adjourned, and I will call for motion and second to convene in closed session before a contract is awarded or bids are opened to discuss a matter directly related to a negotiating strategy or the contents of a bid or proposal if public discussion or disclosure would adversely impact the ability of the public body to participate in the competitive bidding or proposal process as authorized by the state government article, section 3-305, subsection B, 14. Council will discuss options whether to lease or sell Ann Street Village to include matters related to negotiating strategy and the contents of a possible proposal, having found that a public discussion would adversely impact the ability of the city to participate in the proposal process should the city decide to move in that direction.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
So we're now in closed.
Yes.
And Michelle, you did not.